Good to see you.
Good to see you. How are you?
Well, how are you?
Good, thank you.
I'm excited about this conversation tonight.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, so we have small business owners here, of course, tagging their businesses. We at the Village Market are supporters of Black-owned businesses and circulating the dollar. So thank y'all for tagging your businesses. Angela and I, for the sake of time, are going to jump into this conversation.
Let me tell you this before we start.
Yeah.
You have so many fans.
Thank you.
We have a lot of shared Mississippi family, extended family.
Yeah.
So I will shout some of them at Hope Goins, who is my sister. I'm
my
the
sister.
oldest, but she will act like she's the big sister sometimes. Hope Goins was like, "You doing this?" Trey Baker was like, "I see you doing this."
Wow.
Derek Johnson was like, "I see you doing this." Yeah. So
really?
we have some, yeah, that's my BGT, my Benny Gordon Thompson family right there.
Wow.
Benny Gordon Thompson, Congressman Benny Gordon Thompson, is a convener of many a brilliant black mind, and I am so grateful to have been coached and loved on by that guy.
That is absolutely amazing. And shout out to my friend Hope, my big sister, my brother Trey, and the good work that they're doing.
Yeah.
Really, that everyone. I'm grateful to have people that's always advocating for me.
Oh yeah.
And it's the same. You have so much love, always throwing back right at you, Angela. It's amazing, actually.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's hop in a conversation. We are, of course, in the midst of COVID right now. How are you doing as an entrepreneur first, as a person first? How are you doing?
So personally, I'm well. I am healthy. I am still in the land of the living. I think what has been hardest for me is seeing the disparities that exist between, very wealthy corporate America and the people who look like us in our communities, and how hard hit we've been. And that is just a struggle that I hope that we wrestle with and then empathize with, so we fix it. So that's what I've been doing. The things that I know put us at a disadvantage, I've been working hard on addressing with sister friends and family who are like-minded. And then business-wise, I'm good. I think that we've spent so much time to kind of delving into the media side of our work that we we were like kind of, it's hard to explain, but in this uncharted territory where I felt like I was kind of finally finding my flow. And then there was a project they were getting ready to start shooting that went on hiatus. So, yeah, that's jarring. But I think that what I'm comforted by is, like, in a space like this, one, I'm not starving for resources, so I'm good. So with this time and the privilege, because I know that it's a privilege, the privilege that I have to do it, what can I do to make life easier for other people? What can I do to feed minds, to feed consciousness, and work towards a better existence for the collective? And that's what I'm trying to do right now.
The same. For me, this would be year 4. This is year 4 for the Village Market, and you an entrepreneur. Thank you. Thank you. But you understand, year 4 is the year of growth. When you start to see some of all your hard work actually manifest. So this hard pause, that's what I call it. I've just strived to just look at the positive and to make sure my intentions stay the same, to support Black-owned businesses. So, but the pivot has been real. And we both share friends who are entrepreneurs. What have you seen on the landscape? Just for entrepreneurship, in Black entrepreneurship? Of course, we had the CARES Relief Fund, and as always, it was a disproportionate amount of businesses, Black-owned businesses, who did not get funding. And I always tell people, Angela, resiliency is who we are as a people. But from the political landscape, what should we be doing to make sure that these folks that's in office are supporting Black-owned businesses? What does that level of advocacy look like?
I think first I want to give honor to the members of Congress. We talked about Congressman Thompson already, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, who is working diligently to ensure, and did for the last stimulus package, that we were not treated as invisible, that we were taken care of. Congresswoman Karen Bass, who's the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, and the things that the CBC as a collective are working to ensure that we are not left out of upcoming stimulus packages, the new bill that the Democrats introduced and are trying to get to consideration, but it's stuck in rules right now. What else? And Congressman Emmanuel Cleaver, who worked diligently just to get a small part of that pie. There was a $10 million fund he pushed for Black Chambers of Commerce, local Black Chambers of Commerce that a lot of people don't know about. Hell, I wouldn't have known about it if he didn't mention it to me recently. So shout out to my work dad for fighting the power. And I think that I want to just honor the fact that they are working on that, whether we push them or not, right? There's at least 50, I think it's 55 CBC members now who do that, whether we push them or not. Maybe not all of them, at least 50, I'll say that. But what we should do is look at the neighboring districts, the white members, some of the Republican members who may not take those things into consideration and push them, right? Like our members introduce so many bills every Congress that won't ever make it to the floor. The fact that HR 40 has been introduced every single Congress and won't get past the Judiciary Committee, even when Democrats are in charge, is ridiculous. HR 40, for those of you who don't know, is about reparations. And I think what we're really talking about here, when you look at what's happening with COVID, is equity or the lack thereof. And that's really what we should be focused on when we talk about reparations. It's not about a blank check. It's not about a big check. It's not about just buying a Cadillac and throwing some D's on it. Shout out to the older people who know what that is. But it is about, ensuring that we are able to compete. Just period. What difference does it make if Black people are constantly coming up with the best and brightest ideas, super innovative, the dopest businesses, and then they can't stand because they can't scale, right? What difference does that make? And so I think that really has to be our next kind of frontier, because Black women are the largest growing group of entrepreneurs and have been since 2015. What difference does that make if we can't get past one employee averaging $70,000 a year total revenue? That's not good. We don't need a gazillion Black businesses if we can't keep those Black businesses. So we need to figure out how to make sure that they can thrive.
Right. And one of the things that I believe in keeping our Black businesses, the things that we've done historically, we kept ourselves. And we believe that support is a verb, that it's our job to support our community. What do you think the best ways as just community members, village folks, as I call it, we can be supporting and galvanizing support around Black-owned businesses right now?
So I have a problem. Let me say this first. I have a problem because I've been on Amazon too much.
Okay.
They said that by 2026, Jeff Bezos is going to be a trillionaire.
Yes, I saw that.
Right. And I'm like, yo, I have to just take, you know what it is about Amazon and what Black business owners, I hope y'all are listening to this. We're on Amazon because of convenience, right? And so what we have to do as Black people is take the extra step outside of our comfort zone of convenience and support the entities that may not be as easy to get to. Maybe their website isn't as click-throughable, right, as Amazon, but they have the same product, or it's better. It's probably better. So last night, proudly, and I was saying I have a problem first because I don't know how proud I should be of this. But last night, I went to, there's a Black-owned candle place. But while I'm doing this, I bought candles from them last night because my sister friend, Felicia, posted about getting a gift from there. Let me just go to Felicia's page. And I was like, oh my God, I love this. They have these dope, here it is. Mactub Studio, mactubstudio.co.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see that.
Can y'all see that? I see it. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, they have the names of songs as their candle scents, and it's just dope. Woodwick, super dope. So I'm excited about that. But my point in saying that is, right now there are a lot of businesses that are going to thrive and will potentially be able to survive through our e-commerce. So to the extent that you're purchasing, that you're buying, that there are certain things you need there's a black toilet paper company that I supported, Freedom Paper Company.
Paper.
Yep. With toilet paper, where they had Clorox wipes still, they had paper towels. Like, you know that you're going to need some of these things. Take an extra moment to support them. You know, if you're going to be learning how to do makeup, there's the lip bar. You know, if you're going to be, what else is there? Clothes. If you're like, maybe I'm gonna go outside again,
right?
Buy some, some clothes from some black folks. Angela Benton, who it doesn't engage in like goods, but like is doing some services to make sure that we can make money off of the analytics that they take from us. They taking our analytics like they do Henrietta Lacks DNA, right?
Absolutely.
Like, support Angela Benton. So that's what.
Yeah.
Somebody said, what's the candle company? It's Maktub Studios, MAKTUB.co on Instagram. Make sure I get that right. That.
And so, essentially, what Angela said is the way you support black businesses is being intentional. You make it a priority when you're buying all these essential things that we're buying right now, and some frivolous things that we're intentionally buying black. Let's switch the conversation a little bit.
My water.
Right? Let me see the water. Oh, I see it.
Just water.
Just water. Right before, I feel like everything is BC before COVID. We were working with Fair Account, getting ready to gear up for their bus tour and the census. And of course, COVID happened. The bus tour stopped. Many of my good friends was working on this project, and I feel that the census lost momentum. Can we talk about the importance of the census and why we need to re-engage with this process?
That's so good. So the census is really important for all the reasons that we kind of started. I was talking about Black members of Congress. So if you think about how your elected representatives are selected, every 10 years, so every decade, the census data is used to determine how legislative districts are drawn. So when they go through this process called redistricting, that happens based on who responds in the census. So if, for example, they're like, oh, there's a significant Black population in this zip code or in this particular area, or folks with this particular area code, they'll draw a map, and lines are influenced by a certain demographic. It determines what resources are given to schools. It determines so much. And for me, I'm like, if, for those of you who are super interested in tracing like your ancestry, if our ancestors didn't complete the census, when they did, there are pieces of data that would be like gaping holes for us, And there was a time, right, where the census was done and their data couldn't be collected. So from that standpoint, why would we go back to a time where our voices were purposely silenced when we have the opportunity to be counted? And I really do. I mean this in like the most like genuine way. I completely understand our lack of trust with the government and our data and our information. But this is one of those times where it is more important than not. Like, I would rather be counted so I could get one more Black person in the legislature, one more Latinx person in the legislature, one more Black or brown person in Congress. I would rather do that than them use it to, fly a drone over my house. You know what I mean? Like, it's just worth it. It's just worth it.
And from the local level, from like an everyday person, everyday humanity, why is the census important?
Yeah, I think that the same thing applies. When I talked about legislature, it wasn't just Congress, it was state.
Yeah.
I also talked about your schools, resources that go to schools that teach our kids, right? Like, they need to know what resources need to be sent to different areas for all of the aforementioned reasons, particularly when you talk about our competitiveness. And that's how we're prepared. Schools and representation, at the most basic level. We don't need to get into the rest of the nitty gritty about it. Like, if you want the schools to be better, complete the census. If you want to be represented in Congress, complete the census. If you want to be represented in the state legislature, complete the census. People who look like you, who sound like you, can only be elected if you participate.
Absolutely. And so
Somebody
y'all,
said, I'll do it for you, but otherwise I don't trust the census. Thank you. I'll take
whatever
however
you
you
do it
do
for.
it.
Whatever you do it for. And we completely understand why the distrust is there. So I don't think we're not minimizing that, but at this time it is essential to make sure all hands are on deck. And all hands are on deck. A lot of people are disappointed because Bernie Sanders pulled out. And
are they? Who's disappointed?
I've been seeing it, Angela. Folks are
I'm just kidding.
you
I'm
know
just kidding.
it.
No, I'm sure, you know, there are people who are disappointed. I think that my disappointment started a long time before Bernie. I was disappointed about
Absolutely.
Julian. I was disappointed about Elizabeth Warren. I was disappointed about Kamala Harris. I was disappointed by Cory Booker. Hell, I was disappointed by, maybe that's it. But Pete Buttigieg. I didn't mind Pete Buttigieg. So, like, yeah, I was perpetually disappointed in this Democratic primary.
Yes. So how now, even with that disappointment, how do we flip that and still take ourselves to the polls and vote? How can we get excited about candidates that we not necessarily behind 100% for whatever reason? From things I've read, you know, there's a lot of talk that Vice President Biden is missing the mark and he's too moderate in a sense. How do we get excited and get past that?
I don't think that you have to get excited. Excitement is not what is required of you. I think what is required of you is your participation. And right now, what I am requiring of Joe Biden is to just do better, just to do better. And today, in fact, there's a group of us who published an op-ed that said that we require the 3 things from Joe Biden. And if he does these 3 things, just at a minimum, right, that we can guarantee that Black voter turnout will be higher. People keep referencing that he needs the Obama coalition. He can't win with the Obama coalition because the numbers have changed so much. He actually needs better than an Obama coalition, which means Black people, again, need to overperform. In order for us to overperform, we need to be given something, right? Every other voting constituency that harnesses their power, not just during election season, but all the time because they're engaged. They do things like complete the census. They do things like call their members of Congress and people in the state legislature and go to city council meetings and participate in school board meetings. People who are engaged and understand that policy is going to impact your life, whether you engage or not, demand things. And I think it's okay for us to demand things. So right now, we should be operating from the vantage point that Joe Biden needs us, that we are valuable, that we are worthy, and he needs to perform for us because we performed for him. We overperformed for him. That's how his campaign was resuscitated, not just taken on live support, but actually brought back from the dead. It was resurrected like Jesus on Easter Sunday. And so what we demanded in our op-ed was a Black woman VP, a Black woman Supreme Court nominee, which shouldn't be hard for him because he's already committed to it, and a comprehensive Black agenda. He published something called the Lift Every Voice Agenda. Not good enough. It doesn't meet the mark. It's not good. We don't know who he consulted with. It damn sure wasn't us. And what we're requiring is something better. And so their outreach efforts, their engagement efforts, their strategy efforts, their fundraising efforts, their spending efforts, all of that needs to be way more Black than it's been. And that's what we're requiring of the campaign. This isn't a hostage situation. This is just basic common sense. Like, you cannot rely on a group of people who you're not engaging, sir. That's not how it works. So this is just like, hey, observation for you. You might want to try these things if you're trying to win in November. Otherwise, do exactly what you're doing from your basement and we'll wish you the best. It's probably not going to do even as well as, like, I don't know, John Kerry at the rate he's going. But right now it doesn't look good.
So right now it does not look good. So, I mean, it doesn't look good. Of course, we're not advocating people to stay home. Y'all please go vote.
Yeah, definitely not suggesting that. But I'm saying right now what you should do. Somebody said, where can we find the op-ed? That's a good point. It's in the Washington Post today. And there's also an accompanying video. You can go to my page and look. The video is up there. And the article is not hard to find.
Yeah. Are there any other places that, you know, as folks start looking at their demands and their requirements, that they can actually get good, solid references from and resources from?
That's a great question. There's actually an agenda that we link to in our op-ed There's an entity called Black Futures Lab, and they have a sister entity called Black to the Future. They published an agenda called the Black Agenda 2020. Very solid. Very, very solid. And we suggested it as the framework they begin with.
If you all can drop that in the comments, that would be great. So drop in what she just said in the comments. So here in Georgia, of course, Governor Kemp was one of the first to open Georgia back up. We don't understand it. I've still been sheltering in place. Now, what I did learn, though, Angela, is that many people, for whatever reason, thought Atlanta was separate from Georgia. So, yeah, hear me out. So Governor Kemp opened up Georgia, and I could see people waiting for Mayor Keisha Bottoms, the amazing Mayor Keisha Bottoms, to say, well, not Atlanta. And we were like, no, y'all, that she does not have that power to override him. Can we talk about, this is why voting is essential, number one, but also being educated on the power that every position has. Let's talk about the power that a governor has. So when we go back and it's time to vote again, we're not disengaged with the process, because I personally feel that Kemp stole the election from Stacey Abrams and many of us. Absolutely. But it was still, even with that, folks wanted Stacey to just walk away and not fight. Yeah. And I believe it's because we don't really understand the power that a governor has. And I think we're learning through COVID.
Yeah. Well, first, I think that what is so telling, and it goes back to right where we started with the census. Like, so often in our community, we distrust the government, and it doesn't come from a nonsensical place. It comes from like the way that we engage in storytelling of our history. We know how the government has done us, right? And so again, I'm suggesting that you fill out the census, because I don't want this to be used against me later. But the second part is, when we have elections, we expect in some ways that people will cheat. And I think that we have seen that documented too, whether we're talking about suppression efforts or roles being purged, which of course Kemp did, right, as Secretary of State before he was even a candidate. He was purging roles to tip the scales in his favor. On Kemp, what happens is you start to see like, okay, well, if whether I engage or not, it's not going to matter, or it's not going to count, or whatever, and you start kind of talking yourselves into these circles. When you see a fighter like Stacey come out and be like, no, I'm not going to just take this, or no, we deserve better, we actually think we can attain that. I don't think that Stacey was the first time we saw that. The first time we saw that was with Barack Obama. Absolutely. There were more people in our community saying that America wasn't ready for a Black president, right, than white folks. White folks had to show us that America was ready. Why am I saying that? The first primary was held the caucus was held in Iowa. And then it went to New Hampshire. He didn't win New Hampshire, but Iowa helped South Carolina see that we could have that. Congressman Clyburn, just like he did this time for Joe Biden, was like, I know what I should do because I'm friends with the Clintons, but this is what I'm going to do. I'm supporting Barack Obama. That made a difference in South Carolina. What is the point? Sometimes, again, going back to the recklessness in the comments, slave mentality will block your 2020 vision from seeing not only what you deserve, not only what you're owed, but what is in the art, what is possible. You know what I mean? And so anyway, I don't know what all that has to do with Georgia opening. The point is, Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms has more common sense, that you should not listen to some of the Southern governors who have a direct interest in killing off essential workers and killing off the people who would be exposed to coronavirus, or putting you in a position where you're once again on the front lines. Black people have been on the front lines of this country since before Crispus Attucks died in the Revolutionary War. Like, let's be clear, right? We have been fighting on the front lines, and so it is not new to them to sacrifice us. And so what is in our best interest is to protect us. That's what I believe, that they're cool with opening up because they know we would be harmed at the greatest level.
Absolutely.
So I was saying all that to say, full circle, conspiracy theories our conspiracy theories are actually really rooted in fact. And so I believe that. I don't have like a tape of him saying it or some expose, but I believe that Governor Kemp and the Mississippi governor and Texas and everywhere else where they're talking about risking our lives to open up comes from the fact that they know people of color would be harmed at the greatest level.
Absolutely. And because of that, I think it's imperative that what I mentioned earlier, that we have to take care of ourselves. Mm-hmm. We have to be serious and conscious about our decisions about COVID. We cannot rely
for our health, on our businesses, our education, right? Mm-hmm. If nothing else, this is an opportunity for us to really learn what it means to be community when we're farther apart. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, we might be distant. You may be in Atlanta. I'm in LA right now, but I can still be supportive of your efforts from here. And so this, I think the gift of this moment is teaching us how we can still support one another, even if we're not as centrally located as we might have been back in the day.
And being very intentional on what that support looks like. And I think when we talk about community, everything has to be about the progression, to me, of our community. This conversation that you and I are having is not just a conversation. We are pushing and hoping to educate from the census to voting, and now just caring, just common sense as people. We cannot rely on our governor to think about our health. We have to think about our health. Yeah. We cannot rely on our country to help keep our businesses open. We have to intentionally shop from Black-owned candle makers and so on and so forth. So everybody,
Morgan! Sorry, Morgan is in here. I just saw her face. Morgan is the founder of Blavity. Support Blavity, y'all.
It's another one of my good friends.
And Afrotech.
Yes, Afrotech, Summit 21, all things.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Let's.
But no, I appreciate you having me on here. I think that the one thing that I hope, sis, if there's nothing else that comes out of this time period, for 2020, it is that I hope that we learn how powerful we are when we unite. In our economics, in our politics, in our spirituality, in terms of our mental and our physical health, when we really all connect and we are intentional about it, we're unstoppable. It is not worth going out and doing something that is in our personal best interest if it sacrifices the greater good. That is slave mentality. That is the thing that has been the death of Black people for generations. We have to shake that off. And I know it is a stronghold that when you feel powerless, you feel like you just have to grab a hold to that. But what I am challenging myself to do, and all of us, is hunker down and do what is in the best interest of the collective, even if it costs you something or several things personally. It's just high time. It just is.
And if we allow, this moment to be exactly what you said, when we go back to what make us the strongest, and that's community, that is ancestral, that is many years before you and I, and we're just catching up to the present moment, that we are honoring the call of our ancestors.
That's right.
That's what, at this point, is imperative that we all do. When you honor, absolutely, when you honor the call of the ancestors, then you also take the thing that is about you away. And I think we have to take that thing that is all for me, about me. How does this help my business? How does this put me on away? We have to put our community on at this point.
That's the main thing, because if we don't, then that means that people will become further and further behind. And when you look at right now, like, people are like, well, everybody's not suffering. Yeah, but the gap between the rich and the poor is unforgivable. It's sinful. And when you look at the gaps that exist between, like, people are like, well, we got some Black billionaires, we don't have enough. We got some Black millionaires, we don't have enough. Right. And then the amount of debt that we're carrying, and people, like, we all understand this, but when we all make it a little bit, how much burden financially do we carry in our immediate families and more broadly, and the expectations that are put on us? it could be so much better, y'all, if we just spread the love a little bit more into our broader families and to other folks. Like, I insist on every door that's open to me, I'm trying to see who else I can bring with me. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? I am so serious about it. Like, whether it's media or whatever, if you go to my page, you're going to see me lifting up Black women and Black artists who I think are dope and Black commentators who I think are dope. There is more room than just for me, right? Like, there's not just one seat at the table. And if there's only one seat at the table, it's the wrong goddamn table, right? Like, that's not it. So that's the thing. It's like, if you cannot use your platform to spread love, to spread opportunity for somebody else, you got it all jacked up. And while you quarantine, take your ass to time out, because you need to figure it out. Because you're gonna try to hold it all to yourself, and you're gonna suffocate the thing. Ain't gonna be no oxygen for you to even thrive in that. You coming from a place of fear.
And it's a place of fear. And another thing that I feel that hurts us and disempowers us is when we only think about putting the small group of our friends on. Mm-hmm. That we can't be outside of our direct community, our direct relationships. In this Instagram, we've been socialized in the social media space as well, that if a person is not verified, if they're not authenticated with followers, then they somehow have less of a voice, less of a business, less of an opportunity and things to share. So I think when we start thinking about community, is stripping away all these falsities of what it looks like for us to make it. Making it only looks like bringing folks forward.
This conversation, for some reason, sis, has brought out, maybe it's not, I won't say trolls, but it's brought out some interesting critiques. So there's somebody in here that's saying that, you know, if that's the case, why didn't I help them with their PPE business? So I think this is a good teachable moment.
It is a teachable moment. I agree.
And let me just use this privilege that I have by sharing the space with you to tell a brief story. Mm-hmm. At every turn, when I ask someone for help with something, I am super prepared. I don't ever want to waste anybody's time. If I'm saying that I want to come into a situation and I'm like, I know this person can put me on, I have my stuff together. If I'm pitching a new show, I have a deck. I have my talking points. I know my sales pitch. I'm together. If I'm going to the bank to get a PPE loan, I know you're not a troll, but I'm going to help you real quick because you won't listen to the feedback that I gave you online. So I'm going to give it to you in front of the audience. If I'm going to the bank to get a PPE loan, I have to have my operating agreement. I have to have my profit and loss statements. I have to have all my ducks in a row. So if I ask you, if you're seeking a government contract and you have a weave line, and you do wigs, but now you're telling me you do ventilators, right? And I don't see anything on your page that says that you do this work, but you want me to connect you to governors and to mayors and to people on city councils to put you on. And I don't know you from Adam or Eve or anybody in between, but you don't have your ducks in a row, and you're sending me copies of papers where you're like, this is my business license, and it's a Word document on a sheet of paper that you cut out, and it's a video that you could have pulled off of God knows whose website of your equipment, but you can't give me any other information on your business license or where you got this connection from or why you should do this, a FAQ on where the ventilators are, what types of criteria they meet. I used to do government contracting, so I know what's required when I send you to a contracting officer or to a program manager. I know that. So what you're going to do if you ever want me to put my name on something is you're going to be aligned. It's going to be right and tight, because what I'm not going to do, the devil is a lie, is get caught up in some shit where I'm in jail and my parents and everybody else who might be relying on me and my family to provide for them can't understand why I put my neck on the line for somebody who does weaves and wigs and wants me to believe they now do ventilators. So there's that.
And I do think that we have to have a respect for each other as being human.
Yes.
And that not every no comes with a disrespect for a person's business or their purpose.
That's right. 1,000%.
And so I think those are the things when someone has ascended the way that you have ascended, there's always so much room for error as well.
If you don't get out of here with these all caps, this conversation's over. I don't feel comfortable helping you. I don't trust the information. Now let's leave it alone. I'm listening, sis.
Oh, you're good.
Because he just in all caps in here. Like, people got other things they trying to ask, and he in all caps. It's over, dog. I don't trust it. Let's move on. Yes.
Yes. And for everybody else who are hoping that, you know, a person answers them or helps them or put them on, yeah. I have believed in what has worked for me, Angela. Nothing put me on like my own work.
Girl, because your work will speak for itself.
Your work speaks for you.
I don't know if this is biblical, but it's definitely like a biblical principle, meaning I don't know if it's a verse in the Bible, but like your gifts will make room for you.
Every time.
You know, like that's just what it is. And if you have to be demanding and trolling and harassing, that's not it. Like, I don't know anybody who I've nagged like that and that happened. My first job out of law school, I like saw this organization. I fell in love with this organization, flew to DC to take the bar, and was walking down the street with my best friend and ran into the woman who oversaw that organization that I fell in love with. And I recognized her face from the website. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, oh my God. And we knew it was divine. So there are those kinds of appointments that come. And I'll tell you, I wasn't ready for that job, but she saw something in me and knew that she was supposed to pour into me. There are things like that all the time. There's a young woman, I did a professional development session on my Instagram the other day. Kenny Smith told me I had to give back after I did this live with her, which ended up being incredible. I'm going to do it all the time now. This sister came on there and was talking about she has a yoni steaming business, a vaginal steaming business. And there's just something about her that came through. And I was like, well, where's your website? She's like, I don't have one. She stayed up all night and was building a website. So when we got back on my live to talk about what she was doing, it's this like dope moment where you see her like evolving and becoming what she's supposed to be. I went to go get my steaming stuff last night from her house. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I love her. I'm going to do whatever I can to help her. You know, when people show up and they're not full of it, you just know. And sometimes everybody that can help you is not supposed to help you. And there are other people. I have all kinds of mentors who I wasn't super prepared for, but they saw that I was walking in integrity. They saw that I was girl. And they saw when I was like, okay, I don't know what I don't know. Help me. And yes, you have to listen. Yes. It's key. Yeah.
That is absolutely key. I know we are running out of time, so I want to make sure.
I know, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I think it's best when it's real and authentic. So let's shift really quickly, because I do want us to talk about a pressing issue in Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor. I know when we originally decided that we were going to do this talk, at that time, Ahmaud was heavy on my heart, and I believe within 48 hours, I was learning about Breonna Taylor. I do know that, at least from my friends and business owners who I've been talking to daily, people are at this point disheartened and exhausted and feel powerless. What can we do to advocate? What are authentic organizations that we should be putting our support behind, so we can make sure that there's action behind the emotions that we have?
So the first thing I would say is I just do want to, I'm not even going to look at comments right now, as I don't know what it is about a room with two black women trying to look at black business. But what I'll say to you is, out of respect for Ahmaud Arbery and out of respect for Breonna Taylor, I hate that we have to be in a situation right now where we have to demand justice for something that's so obvious. For two situations that are so obvious and in two very different geographical locations. But the thing about geographical boundaries and blackness is they know no bounds. No bounds. You know what I mean? No matter what, we are treated in the same way. And so what I would say is, it's so important for us to connect with the legal teams who are representing those families. It's so important for us to connect with the activists who do that work on the ground every day in those areas. And I want to just lift up my sister, Brittany Packnett, who stayed up all night for a couple of nights because Breonna was on her heart. And she shared with a group of her sister friends about Breonna, and she allowed us to lean in to just help her, to help the activists on the ground there. And so we're using hashtag Breonna Taylor for Bree, and I stand with, I think it's Stand with Bree. It's the other one. Let me make sure that's right. But Brittany has on a website that she created and has turned over to the family. I'm sorry, and to the activists on the ground. I just want to make sure I get this right. Fightforbreonna.org. Fightforbreonna.org. And the hashtag is, hashtag Justice for Bree, hashtag Breonna Taylor. And she has some very clear demands to reach out to and call the governor and the mayor, who isn't saying much, issued a statement that didn't say anything.
It was
all
empty.
of that. Always trying to do a both sides kind of an argument, regardless of party. White folks do that sometimes, and we don't want to support that. But what I would say is, our activism politically doesn't just begin at the ballot box. We have an obligation to be politically and community activated and mobilized all the time. And when you're calling on the governor, and you're calling on the mayor, and you're calling on the police department in these areas to do what they need to do, that is a form of political and community-based activism. And that's required of us until our system changes and the power dynamics change, and we have what we need, and we don't have to demand justice. But right now we have to demand justice. It is not going to kill you to make a phone call. It's not going to hurt you to put out a tweet. It's not going to hurt you to do a social media post so that her hashtag and Ahmaud's hashtag continue to go viral. I think it's great that the prosecutor, the special prosecutor in the case, is a Black woman. She has a Republican background. Republicans aren't always our friends, but neither are Democrats in some instances, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
But I think it's super important that we engage, that we keep the pressure on, even after we get a part of the outcome we desire, because how many of us know that on the other side of a George Zimmerman trial, right, was a not guilty verdict.
Right.
So the trial's not sufficient. It is the verdict that matters. And that's why another part of our political service is jury duty. So if you're called upon, answer and be responsible.
That's really good. And of course, we have Breonna's boyfriend, and he is literally fighting. We will have to fight for his freedom. And
that's the
Walker.
other thing. That's exactly right. Yeah. Can you imagine? He's protected. So when you go, you think about what happened with Botham John, right? He was in his home sleeping. The officer comes in the house, shoots him, right? And she, got a little bit of time. But here is this man protecting someone who barged in his house and lost his girlfriend, and now he's facing time. That's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Ridiculous.
It is. But it's what you said. I mean, we can advocate before the polls, at the polls, after we vote. Like, we shouldn't let up in advocating for our liberation and our freedom and justice for our people.
Never. Not until we're free.
Yeah. So there's one thing that we cannot get fatigued on.
Yeah. Well, and if we do, you find yourself, it's so funny. I have all these stories. We're supposed to be done by now, but I'll say
right.
this. My brother, I had the most humbling experience in January. My brother was arrested for something he didn't do. And I found myself in a situation where I had to call everyone politically who I knew to help him. And even then, I still had to pay his bail. Even then, I still had to pay for a criminal defense lawyer. And what I thought about in that moment is, like, what if I didn't have the money to bail him out? Those charges may have never been dropped. What if I didn't know the people I knew politically who were calling to ask questions? And I thought about all of our brothers and sisters who are in that situation, who do not have that privilege, who do not have that access. And for me, I'm like, I told Rashad, who runs Color Change, I said, you have for me for life, or until this changes, an in-money bail advocate. Because I know how much it hit my damn pockets. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, there are people who are mortgaging their homes to get their loved ones out. There are people who are sacrificing a paycheck they don't have yet to get their loved ones out. That's not cool. You know, it's not fair that the difference between political access and not determine whether or not a free person can go free. Like, we have a lot to do, y'all, and it's going to be a whole lot easier if we all work together. That's for sure. Which is right where we started. Our community needs to unite.
And where we're going to end. Give us a call of action. I believe in moving beyond theory to practice. Tell us, give us a charge.
I think right now you brought up Breonna. I think taking on the Breonna case, Justice for Bree and hashtag Breonna Taylor are the two that Britt has. If you go to Miss Packetti's page, this is Brittany's page. This is the call to action that's up right now. I know that's backwards, but you can kind of see. I think that's important. I'd like to see us stand together there. I would like to see what happens, what it looks like when police stop killing Black folks, when vigilantes stop killing Black folks. It'll be a whole lot easier for us to be economically empowered if we're alive.
Absolutely. And I would say, y'all, please get counted if you have not been counted. Yes, please get counted if you have not been counted. Think about what you would want in a president and start thinking about that demand list as Angela talked about.
We got some. Read up. Let us know what y'all think of the op-ed and the video, and definitely please share for Breonna Taylor. It's Miss Packetti. Somebody said, what's Britt's name? Miss Packetti. And the demands are also on my page if that's easier for y'all. Yes, we counted in the 2020 census. And I think finally support a Black business today.
Absolutely.
If y'all all walk out of here, find a Black business to support, whether it's buying your toilet paper or your laundry detergent or your makeup, or you think you're going to go somewhere, at least you have date night in the house and want to dress up, buy some clothes from somebody. But definitely support our people because they're working hard and we want to make sure they can survive at the end. Thank you for the person who said they read the Washington Post piece. I appreciate it.
Yes. And as Angela said, support Black businesses. There's no excuse. All day. I
come from a dad who he used to run with Reverend Dr. Jeffries at home, the Black Dollar Days Task Force. So anytime when I was younger, I would say, Dad, I want to get some pictures done. I didn't like my school pictures one year. Dad, I want some new pictures. He threw the Black Dollar Days Task Force director at me. Look in here and find somebody Black who does it. And I was like, every single time, like you could rest assured that Eddie Rye, that's when we had yellow pages back in the day, y'all. I'm old, I'm 40. But he would throw that book at me and say, find a Black business who did it. And I would just encourage you to do the same thing with your children. Because if they grow up with it, they'll always look for us first.
Absolutely. I think I look for us first because that's what I saw the most. Yeah, absolutely. Angela, I appreciate you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate your work.
Yes, thank you so much. Y'all take care of yourself. Please continue to shelter in place. Get counted. And all those great things that Angela dropped. Please go to her page and show her love. Love is more than anything. We need love from each other right now.
No question.
So Angela, thank you so much.
Love y'all. Thank you so much. Thanks for tolerating me combating the trolls too. They want to talk today though. I'm about to go on my page and talk to the trolls.
I didn't expect anything else. I didn't expect anything
You did?
else.
I did. I'm like, we're talking about Black business and y'all in your bags.
No, I didn't expect you to say anything else but how you responded.
Oh well, then there's that. At least one of us is predictable. Thank you so much. Much love to you. Thanks for doing it.
Love.
Bye.